Hello folks, it's Ryan again with yet another episode for the Lumineth. This is the channel Overlordshiny. Let's get started. Okay, so for the last time we were here, we talked about some of the inspiration that the Lumineth may have gotten from the High Elves from the world that was. First up on the list are the Phoenix Guard, White Lions, and Dragon Knights. These were the very first proto-totem style units that we saw from the world that was. These could be comparable to the elemental animal units that we're kind of seen now as an extension of the previous edition's animal totem units. Now, what do I mean when I am talking about totem units? It's quite simple. You're going to take a unit that draws inspiration from a creature, whether it's supernatural or real, and then you're going to try to exemplify or honor those type of characteristics that the creature exemplifies. For example, if you looked at the White Lions, their design choices are quite obvious. These characters would sometimes be friends with a white lion, or in all cases they had a ritual where they would have to hunt down a white lion, kill it, and then wear the mane. Now, the Phoenix Guards, White Lions, and Dragon Knights were the three main proto-totem style units as I described previously. So if we are comparing the design mechanics between these two factions, the High Elves of old and the Lumineth of new, we can see where they are drawing inspiration from. So let's take a closer look at that. For the Earth-style creatures, or the Mountain-style creatures, they're using the bull. For the air-style, they're using the fox. For the river, they're using the pachyderms, or elephants. And the zenith has yet to be revealed. However, based on previous data, we can assume that this is based off of another creature that has wings, so something like a swan, a peacock, or an eagle. So let's take a look at some of the units that would inspire the new release of Lumineth. The first one on my list are the Wind Chargers. Now, if you were to compare them from their battlefield roles, they are comparable to someone called the Orillian Reavers. They were horseback mounted cavalry that excelled in both ranged and melee combat, but they sacrificed that proficiency for low armor. They were originally released in 4th edition, like much of the High Elf units, and they were originally released in metal. They were subsequently updated in the 8th edition starter set, where they premiered in plastic against the Skaven in the Isle of Blood starter set. Now, the Reavers did have bows, they had pointy hats, and they also had scale mail on their horses, or barding as it was called. Visually, there's really no connection other than the fact that they have both the pointy hats and the bows. The biggest notes of their heritage, however, stems from their back banners. Now, it is a bit of a design stretch to compare the helmets with the wings on them, so that hussar formation, and the back banner of the new Wind Chargers. But it does have a very similar silhouette, which is a very big element in model design. And that takes us to the Silver Helms versus the Dawn Riders. The Silver Helms were originally released in 3rd edition, which makes them sort of unique amongst the rest of the High Elf range, in that they preceded the rest of the army. Originally released in metal and then upgraded in 6th edition to plastic, these guys were the generic cavalry unit that you would use in between the Orillian Reavers and the more elite version of the Dragon Knight. But there's a lot more to compare these two different models with. Now, if you look at them, they have the very similar style of armor, very similar style of barding, and they both were rocking spears. By now, you've noticed that there's a lot of symmetry between the old models and the new ones. And I think exemplifies I quite like Elenia and Elithor to Tyrion and Teclis. This is mostly apparent in the fact that Teclis is a spellcaster and Tyrion is the martial expert between the two. Now, Teclis and Tyrion were both released in 4th edition in metal, and they never really graduated beyond that except for Finecast, and that's debatable if that's a upgrade or not. For the final unit of the Lumineth comparison, we have the Aurelian Sentinels to the High Elf Archers. This is also a very apparent one, in that it is literally a bowstring to bowstring comparison, and a little bit of an upgrade, obviously, with the bowstrings here for the Sentinels. But all you need to do is look at the posing, which in this case, the silhouette of a archer is sort of locked in place as to what their actions are. But you can see with their helmet, they got the spiky helmet, they have the cloth, much like the High Elf archers did back in the day. So I'm fairly comfortable comparing these two. Now, if you wanted to see when the High Elf archers were released, much like the rest of their brethren, they were released in 4th edition, in metal actually, before they were upgraded in 6th edition into plastic. Future releases for the Lumineth will feature the river element creatures, or the river element spell mages, as well as the Zenith style characters. For both, expect one mage-style character, a big monster with a named variant, and a troop choice, whether it's cavalry or infantry, or maybe some flying creature in the case of the Zenith. Keep your eyes out for that. We don't really have much in the way of clues for the Tyrannic element of the army, but you can expect it to follow the older style units, that there's probably going to be a heavy cavalry unit akin to the aforementioned Dragon Knights, and probably something along the lines of the Shadow Warriors as a skirmish unit. That is it for the second video on the Lumineth today. I'll have more in the future as more units or more lore gets revealed and we can compare and contrast between this world and the previous world. If you like my content or you have any questions, concerns, or comments, feel free to leave a comment below. If you do like my content, obviously you can subscribe. If not, I get it. I don't like pressing buttons either, but it does help the channel out. Anyway, my name is Ryan and this is the channel Overlordshiny. Have yourselves a good one.